My name is Nancy Farrow, also known as Mama Lou, and I'm the founder of Epic Experience. Epic Experience mission is to empower adult cancer survivors and thrivers to live beyond cancer. I hope that as you listen to Campfires of Hope, Living Beyond Cancer, you find hope, healing, and empowerment. Through stories and education, we aim to guide those impacted by cancer, and more importantly, offer love and support to anyone out there who needs it. This is Beyond Cancer.
Father times dance through the night with the ghosts of America's mind. Well, he's still on our side, the family man's pride, and hopes we will rise once again. So,
Hello, everyone. This is Gail, aka Sunshine. Today we have Edie Harrison joining us around the campfire. Edie, thank you for coming back. Edie was here with us back in March of 2023. So welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm happy to have this opportunity when you reached out to me about clinical trials. So thank you for having me a second time.
Perfect. The first time we did hear more about your diagnosis around colon cancer because we talked during Colon Cancer Awareness Month, right?
Yes,
back in March.
Correct.
So why don't you tell, for those who didn't listen to that episode, maybe give us a little bit of background about you and include one fun fact.
Okay. So just general about me or cancer
first
story?
Yeah, let's
general?
do that first.
Okay. General is I still live where I was living before, which is Chesterbrook, Pennsylvania. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. I still work for the same organization, doing the same job. I'm the director of a birth to 3 home and community-based early intervention program, but I am set to partially retire at the end of next year.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So just a little over a year to go. I've been with the agency for 27 years, so giving them a lot of time. So I'll do a stress-free job just for health insurance and then go from there.
Very nice.
My daughter, I think, she was in her freshman year at college last time, and now she's a junior at University of Delaware studying wildlife ecology and conservation. And as you said, I did attend camp. I've also done regional outings, both as a guest and also organized a few. So love Epic Experience.
Well, awesome. That is wonderful. So your diagnosis. Oh, did you tell me your fun fact?
I didn't tell you my fun fact. So my daughter and I would love to see every state in the United States, like preferably from the ground level from car. So we've done like a good 3/4, I think, of the states.
Oh, awesome.
So this coming summer, we're going to do the Northwest of the country, which we have not done yet. Washington, Oregon, all the way over to South and North Dakota and back. So.
Oh, how fun. That is very cool. I have not totaled how many states I've seen. So good for you. That's a fun thing to do together too.
We do. We travel well.
So I've mentioned colon cancer. So give us the abbreviated version of what happened. And then I know you did a clinical trial. That's the whole reason we're talking about this. So go ahead and tell us about that as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I had no clue that cancer was even on my horizon. I turned 50 and did first a Cologuard, and then that came back positive. So just part of the routine thing that my doctor recommended. No risk factors, no history, no real symptoms. But after the colonoscopy, I woke up and was informed that there was a big mass. So lots of tests, lots of scans. Ultimately, it was 3B. They classified it as rectal cancer because it was right on the border. And because of that, I had the chemo and the chemo radiation first to shrink the tumor as much as possible, then the surgery. So that all went well. And so I basically was treated for just 1 full year from March of 2021 till March of 2022 with my last surgery, which was a reversal of my ostomy. But the tumor, which I named Lumphrey, if you don't remember, I wanted to give it a funny name so it was less scary to talk about. So Lumphrey was removed January of 2022. So since then, I've been considered NED, no evidence of disease. So
wonderful. That's great. And in case you're wondering, so the episode that Edie did before was in March 2023, and it has the title of being saved by an at-home screening, right?
Yep.
So again, please
Sorry,
don't.
my dog is snoring if you hear
No
that.
problem. Don't discard or discount, I should say, the importance of doing at-home
Yep.
testing. So,
Yep. Oh, that's my soapbox for everyone, and especially colon cancer and colonoscopy can be such an uncomfortable subject, but we've got to talk about it because
definitely.
people younger and younger are getting it, and some insurances let you get screened at 45. So
Yeah.
talk to your insurance.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the clinical trial you were on? When
Hmm.
you found out about it, how you found out about it, what it entailed, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. I I'm a researcher for things. So when I found out I had cancer, I kind of, in a way, went too far sometimes on the internet looking up things. So I learned not to look up the medical things of my particular diagnosis. But I found some good support groups on Reddit and Facebook, and learned lots of little details on there, including about this clinical trial. People kept talking about Signatera. So when I asked about it, it's something called a liquid biopsy, where it's created from your particular tumor cells, and then they test your blood at regular intervals to look for those tumor cells, which would let them know that your tumor is still there somewhere shedding cells, and it might like be too small to pick up on a scan, but a recurrence is coming. So that sounded good for me. So
Yeah.
I was being treated at the Abramson Cancer Center. So I asked my oncologist if they were participating in the study, which they were. So I did the steps I needed to do. They did blood work. I had this right kind of cancer for it, stage 3, colorectal cancer. They also have similar liquid biopsies for lung cancer and breast cancer, just so
Mhm.
people are aware of that. Um, and so once they took lumpy, name of my tumor, they did the removal. They took some lumpy cells and sent them to Natera company, which is the one that did Signatera. And they created a test just for me. So when they tested my blood, they would look for lumpy bits in
Right.
my bloodstream. So that was, so I had my surgery in January. We had some hiccups along the way in getting the first results. So I'm not sure if you want to go there yet, or if we're still talking about
The
just,
first results from your surgery or
yeah,
from
no,
the
from the
Oh,
Signatera results,
oh, yeah. So I just wanna make sure I understand. So you were actually doing this research before you ever had surgery?
right?
You had
Yep.
already so once you had surgery, kind of the information for doing this trial was already in place, and
Yes.
they were able to go ahead and do it. Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, go ahead and tell me about the, complications at
Hmm.
first.
Yep. And even if I had already had the surgery, I mean, they save some of your tumor, so they would have had some to send anyway. But so I've learned with clinical trials, and this is something I have for later. I have a tip that I've learned from my experience, but they just really didn't have it together. It's only as smooth as the place who's running it, like because
Yeah,
Signatera is the body that governs it, but each oncologist who does it. So they didn't have a really together team that did it. So, it's supposed to, the first results are supposed to take like 2 to 3 months because they have to create the test first.
right.
So after the surgery, I'm waiting with bated breath because I couldn't really feel like I was no evidence of disease until I saw a negative result. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to get too complacent and happy first. So after 2 months, I finally called around, and somehow my blood or the sample just got like lost in the sauce somewhere.
Oh, no.
Um, Something, either the tumor or my first blood test got lost in the sauce. So I had to do it all over again and wait like another 2 months.
Oh,
But finally got the results, and they were negative. So that was
and
just,
so do they keep doing this? No. So they have
they do.
lump-free bits,
They have
and they
lumpy
keep
bits.
so every time how often are you getting tested
Yeah.
now? Like
So it was, well, it's over now. It was a 2-year
okay.
clinical trial. So I started in 2022. So it just ended earlier this year. But every 3 months, a nurse would come to my home and draw my blood. They would send me a little kit in the mail that had the vials and the cold pack and everything. Would come and take my blood, and then about a couple of weeks after that, I get the results. But each time with this particular team, I would have to kind of call around, and sometimes paperwork needed to be done. Like I was the one that had to push each step forward. So that was frustrating, but I did it.
Yeah.
So I had, because one negative liquid biopsy is great, but it could maybe just have gotten blood that didn't have the cells in it and they were
Right.
circulating somewhere else in your body. So I had ultimately 8 negatives in a row, which is pretty
Which is pretty
definitive
good.
that it's gone. I mean, that's Lumphre's gone. It doesn't mean that, some
Right.
other cancer, but I put that on the back burner, like
Uh,
Lumphrey is gone.
Lumfrey's gone. So this is a different clinical trial in the sense that it wasn't a treatment, it was more of a way to kind of monitor and make sure that Lumfrey was not making another appearance somewhere in your body.
Yep,
Is that right?
exactly correct.
So every time, like, well, first, when you thought about doing the trial, uh, did you find it stressful, hopeful? Like, what was your kind of mental state going
Oh,
into it
I
the first
was
place?
like hopeful, excited, and chomping at the bit. I couldn't wait, like, because
Yeah,
during the treatment, I had certain tests that were showing me that the treatment was working. So this was going to be like a way to show me that a treatment worked. So
exactly.
I couldn't wait. And there
Yeah.
wasn't much I had to do. I just had to like get my blood drawn. That's it.
Well, yeah, in your case, this is part of a series, and we've been talking to other people who had to have a whole bunch of things line up.
Yep.
You alluded to the fact that you had colon cancer, colorectal cancer, and that it was stage 3. So was that part of the prerequisite? Is that
Yeah,
it
I
had to
can't
be a
remember
certain
the
stage?
specific, but it was stage like 2 and 3, I think.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but there were a few there, and then I'm not sure what they were looking for in the blood work, but whatever that showed, I was a good candidate.
Today's episode is brought to you by Lilly. Cancer changes lives. Clinical trials can change cancer. To learn more, visit cancerclinicaltrials.lilly.com. That's cancerclinicaltrials.lilly.com. Right, and then they already had Lumfrey, so they already had that, so then after
Yep.
that, it was just a matter of getting your blood test. So did
Yes.
you have we on the podcast at different times, we've talked about scanxiety in terms of right
Hmm.
before you get your scan. Did you have that every time you got your blood test?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
Yes, I did, especially the first one because I
Yeah,
just prepared myself. And of course, I'm doing research like if it's positive, what's out there? So that was kind of good because I learned of another clinical trial for like a vaccination kind of thing for people in that situation. So I had that on the
so
ready,
you
locked,
already
and
had a
loaded.
negative. So
Yep,
really it was you doing your own research, and
yes,
had it been positive at any step, you would have had the information to go to your oncologist and say,
yep,
"Hey, I read about this
yeah, oh
trial."
yeah, yep,
Good for you. There's something to be said for being your own
yes.
advocate, right?
Yep. What surprised me though, something with the clinical trial is people on the message boards, some of them, like at least half of them said their oncologist said they wouldn't do it. It wasn't, because there's nothing they could do even if they saw it. So, it wouldn't change anything. So I can't understand that. If my oncologist had said that, I would have found a new oncologist.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting they say there's nothing they could have done, but had Lumfrey shown up, you just said that you had found another clinical trial. I
Yep.
mean, had you and your
Yep.
oncologist talked about that? What would happen if it was
Yeah, I
positive
mean,
in
it would
any
just
way?
be really close monitoring. I think the most
Okay.
benefit it would have been is instead of maybe if I had a scan coming in 6 months or 3 months
You would
and they
move it
saw
up.
positive, they would do a scan much sooner intervals until they
Yeah.
saw enough to be able to do treatment.
Yeah. So once the trial began, really the impact on you was blood tests and a
Blood test
little.
and tracking down all the steps that ended up to
That's true,
be my
which
job.
ended up being a bigger job probably than you thought it would
Yes.
be.
Yep.
Um, and so in that sense, it was a lot different from going through chemo and radiation and all
Hmm.
those things because this really was a monitoring
Yeah,
trial as opposed to it's amazing to me that they could create a test specifically for lump-free
I
and for
know.
your situation. To me,
Yep.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish you would have known beforehand? Even though this wasn't a treatment clinical trial, it still
Hmm.
had
Yep.
obviously some complications along the way.
Hmm.
Is there anything
Yep.
that you wish you would have known beforehand?
Yes, I wish I would have known that clinical trials are only as smooth as the person running them, because my dog is actually in a clinical trial right now for a
Really?
drug that's supposed to maybe help dogs live longer. It's called Loyal. Um, but there's no vets within an hour of me doing it. So there are two vets about an hour away. So the first one I called, the woman like had no clue what this clinical trial was. She said she'd put me through to someone who did and kept hanging up on me. So after the second hang up, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going down
Never
this road
mind.
again. So I called the other vet, which is another half hour farther, but they knew just what I was talking about. They had the steps laid out. And so it's been nothing but smooth. So
Well, I would have never guessed that there was a trial, but thankfully
yep.
your own experience has helped your
Yes.
dog
Yes.
also. Wow. Is there anything else that you would want to share with someone listening who's considering a clinical trial
Hmm.
or just going through cancer in general? But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, going through cancer in general, like knowledge really was power. Like you have to be careful. Don't look up every
right.
term in your report until your oncologist can explain it, because I scared myself silly a number
Yeah.
of times.
Dr.
Um,
Google can do that to you.
Yep. But I highly recommend support groups online. I mean, colon
Yeah.
cancer has a whole, like, it's called Colon Town. It's a whole
Oh,
Facebook thing, and there are
wow.
mini groups for every aspect, from your stage to neuropathy to everything you can imagine. And
Yeah.
so they know things that, your oncologist might not have heard yet.
Yeah.
Like my oncologist hadn't heard of this clinical trial, and it was happening right there at Penn.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and
Anything for someone with a clinical trial that you
Yeah,
would
I
share?
would say go for it.
Yeah.
One, it can help yourself, but also now Signatera is becoming more of a routine follow-up part of care.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yep.
So
And the
that
clinical,
again, you mentioned lung cancer and breast cancer in
yeah,
particular, where they're doing the same thing. They're testing the
hmm,
tumor,
yep,
and then your follow-up includes blood tests to look
yeah.
for that.
So
Wow, that's
ctDNA, it's
amazing.
all about circulating tumor DNA. That's what all the
Okay,
different tests are looking for.
that's
Yeah.
amazing that they're able to do that.
Hmm.
Well, good for you for being your own researcher and advocate,
Thank
because
you.
I am sure that even though each blood test was stressful, at the same time, getting 8 negatives gives you huge peace of
Yes.
mind. And
Yes.
again, you said it, you don't know what's coming, but for right now,
Yep.
you can be confident that
Yep.
there is no evidence of disease.
Yes. And
That's
know,
amazing.
like, whatever comes down the pike, there are people researching it right now and coming up
Exactly.
with things that they're testing out. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing
sure.
that. Now, since you have been on the show before, I have already asked you about marshmallows over a campfire. So I'm going to
Yep.
change it just a little
Okay.
and ask you about s'mores, a delicacy at the
Yes.
campfire. If you were to make a s'more, is it milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
For now, it's dark chocolate because I don't do dairy. So
Ah,
I would do
well,
dark
that was an
chocolate.
easy answer for
Yes, it
you.
is.
There you
Yep.
go. Equally scrumptious, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Well, Edie, thank you so much for joining us again. If you want to listen to Edie's first podcast, that was back in March of 2023, and the title was how I never get the title
Saved by an at-home
Save
screen.
by an at-home screening. And
Yep.
if you um, are of the age where you should be screened, please do so.
Yep.
Right?
And even if you're not of the age, press your doctor for a test if you think there's something wrong.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Edie,
Sure.
aka Blaze.
Thank you.
Until the next time we gather around the campfire, keep living beyond cancer. Thank you for listening to this episode of Campfires of Hope, Living Beyond Cancer. For more information about Epic Experience and our programs, or to donate, please visit our website at epicexperience.org. Music for this podcast is provided by Moonshiner Collective. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us so we can share our story with more people. Also, be sure to subscribe wherever you get podcasts so you'll know when new episodes are released. We hope you come back and join us for our next episode.
Father time